Of all the things we wanted to see in a Halo series, the Arbiter, the Flood, the triggering of the Halo rings, the fall of Reach maybe, well, none of that so far, but how about new character Marquis' backstory? How about a look at Master Chief's ass? Has ever wanted to see that? No, well, me neither really, but someone somewhere must have thought it was a good idea because like really, the guy not only seems to be spending less and less time in his iconic helmet, they're stripping him off not only of his Mjolnir, but also his military issue fucking Y-fronts. So I was AFK for a few days, so I wasn't able to watch EP3 until now. But oh, that's nice, I thought, ever the optimist, I'll be able to watch 3 and 4 back to back. But sigh, I'm losing patience with this show. But hit like on the video, get subscribed if you aren't already, and let me tell you why. Episode 3 starts on Oban, which is basically a garbage planet, and we see the Sangheili arrive searching for Blessed Ones, and that's when they find a young Marquis and take her away to join the Covenant. Then it focuses on the birth of Cortana, the extraction of the mind of the clone who spawned her, and her uploading into the Chief. There's the obvious reluctance from Chief about being slapped with what he sees as a babysitter, and all that stuff is okay, that's fine. But then it jumps back to the rubble, where Soren is still having to put up with this annoying character who's desperately scrambling to find a storyline for herself. Then we get this scene with the Unsc Gladius as it encounters a Covenant corvette which seems adrift in space. They're hailed by a human survivor who pleads for help, and fairly obviously it's a trap set by Marquis. And here we get an oh so brief glimpse of a hunter, which I'm currently working on a video on. This part right here, where the Let Golo swarm the ship and kill everybody, is the highlight of the episode by a long way. All I've ever seen of these creatures before is this clip from Halo Nightfall, and they look way better here. Anyway, next up is Chief wrestling with his emotions as he decides to remove his emotion inhibitor pellet as he realizes that he gets more out of his interactions with the artifact when his emotions aren't inhibited. So he walks around the place hearing music as if it was for the first time and seeing everything the way everyone else sees it. And do you give a shit about this side of the character? I don't really. Anyway, doing that lets him remember more details as his memories resurface when he touches the artifact, and it lets him examine his backstory. Again, another side of the character that no one really gives a shit about. But eventually he sees that there's a second artifact, and for some reason it was on the planet that he used to live on as a child. That's a coincidence. Before he was taken by Halsey into the Spartan program. But yeah, remember I said this would happen. The artifact they have is the key, and then they have to go find the lock, and it'll be Chief and his guys being pursued by Mackie and her guys, or something to that effect. And it's amazing when you think about it how often they use this key and lock plot device in stuff. Sometimes they have to go find a map, and that'll lead them to the treasure. Sometimes they have to go find a book, which will lead them, I don't know, to the gates of hell. And very often, when they really can't be asked using any imagination at all, it's literally just a key and a lock. Anyway, there's mention of there being a plague that hit this planet that was carried in by an unauthorized transport ship. And this could potentially be the Flood, I guess, which I think is quite a departure from the original Halo timeline. Because as far as I'm aware at this stage, all of the samples of the Flood should be safely tucked away in the containment facilities on the Halo rings. I don't know, I could be wrong about that. So episode 3 ends with Chief and Halsey jetting off to Eridanus 3, and without that scene with the Let Golo, this ep didn't really have that much to write home about at all. Master Chief put on his helmet precisely 0 times for those of you who that matters to, and I'm one of them. All of which brings me nicely to episode 4, where there's even less to write home about. There's one scene where he pops his helmet on in episode 4, drives a warthog for literally 3 shots, and then takes it off again, and I'm starting to wonder if this is meant to be an in-joke. As a viewer, am I actually literally being taken the piss out of? You can almost hear the conversation between the lead actor and the director going, you know what would be really funny? Let's build it all up. Let's put on the Halo music as Master Chief puts his helmet on, like da-da-da-dun, 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 as he's putting his helmet on, and then he finally puts it on, and then it cuts, and then he fucking takes it straight off again. He might as well just throw it on the ground and kick it into a homeless person's face. No, that went too far. But this episode is really taking its time to look into the Chief's backstory and his life before the Spartan program, which comes to a head when he remembers himself meeting Halsey for the first time. There's also a few scenes on Madrigal with annoying sidekick here trying to kickstart the rebellion in the name of her dead father, but I really couldn't care less. The optimist in me is saying that this is going to lead to the glassing of Madrigal, something that I actually would want to see. But no, what we do get is Hermann Gottlieb here, absolutely bolloco in a bath. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this? Like, Halo the series buttocks compared? Buttissimos of Halo the series ranked? By the way, is this guy supposed to be another Halsey clone? He's kind of got a similar nose, right? Boop. Anyway, intrusive side thoughts aside, what Hermann Gottlieb is actually doing here is hiring this assassin to kill Quan. Is her name Quan? Who cares? So Soren fights off the assassin and Chief finds the artifact, and that's really about it. There's not a single shot of Covenant in this ep, not even Marquis, and that probably makes it the worst episode yet. While I mentioned Marquis, somebody in the comments, I think it was Exodia, said that the reason they introduced Marquis was that it's basically a cheap replacement for the Arbiter because they didn't want to spend on the CG for actually giving us a Sangheli Arbiter. And I don't know if that's true or not, but it does sound completely believable. It does sound like the type of thing these studios would do. Honestly, I would prefer it if they just bought one of those cheap horse masks and stuck 4 condoms on its face. So, like I said, losing patience with this show, but I'm going to persevere until at least the mid-season. There's usually a pickup around there, but I am starting to really need some action now. Not just Soren firing a pistol at an assassin, but, you know, a UNSC versus Covenant battle scene with scorpions roaring around, banshees screaming overhead, a scarab would be awesome. Seeing Chief punch some grunts to their death would be nice. But yeah, we live in hope.